Life in the loquat tree begins with a delicate balance. For an Anna's hummingbird, the sun isn't just light, it's a source of life-saving energy. During the early weeks of nesting, mom relies on passive solar incubation. By letting the morning sun warm her eggs, she saves her own precious body fat, giving her time to preen and hunt in the nearby fruit trees without the nest cooling to dangerous levels. But nature is never static. As the loquat fruit ripens and gains weight, the branch begins to bow under the load. It's a slow motion shift with high stakes. What was once a perfectly shaded sanctuary is now being pulled directly into the path of the sun for longer and longer stretches. By April, the passive phase is over. The temperature is climbing, and the neighbor's citrus tree can no longer provide a shadow long enough to protect the nest. The sun has turned from an ally into a threat. To protect her chicks, mom becomes a living umbrella. She spreads her wings and tail into a wide canopy, sacrificing her own comfort to block intense UV rays from reaching her chicks' sensitive skin. Hummingbirds are biological marvels, but they live on a knife's edge. They possess the highest mass-specific metabolic rate of any bird, which means their tiny engines are always running hot. When the external temperature climbs, they face a double-edged sword. They can't sweat to cool down, and their own intense metabolism is generating even more internal heat. To survive, they employ a high-energy physiological trick called gular fluttering. By opening their beaks and rapidly vibrating the thin membranes in their throats, they evaporate moisture to shed heat. It is a frantic, visible race against the rising mercury. But inside the nest, a different kind of struggle is unfolding. As mom spreads her wings to act as a parasol, a complicated thermal dance begins. The chicks are caught in a desperate contradiction. They need the shade her wings provide to block the scorching April sun, but they are also struggling to escape her own 104-degree Fahrenheit body heat. In these clips, you can see the friction of three bodies in a tiny space. The chicks push and shove, trying to find a gap where they can catch a breeze without being hit by direct radiation. They crawl out from under mom's belly, seeking a cool spot on the edge of the nest, only to be driven back by the sun. It is a restless, uncomfortable battle for a comfy position, one where every inch of movement is a calculation for survival. When the mercury rises, survival for a hummingbird becomes a search for a microclimate. Most birds will abandon the open sky to seek out the deep green, the densest parts of the garden, where layers of foliage block the sun and trap cooler, humid air. In these natural sanctuaries, the temperature can drop by as much as 10 degrees compared to the exposed branches. In hot temperature, every drop of moisture becomes a lifeline. If a hummingbird is lucky enough to find a gardener's mist, or even just a few leftover water drops on a rose leaf, they will perform a leaf bath, rubbing their bellies against the wet surface to pull heat away from their bodies. It is a quiet, desperate struggle for comfort. But while the neighborhood birds can retreat into the shadows, this mother and her chicks are anchored to their location. They are trapped by the very nest that was meant to keep them safe. As the sun beat down on the sagging loquat branch, I watched them through my lens and felt the observer's dilemma, the difficult choice between watching nature's harsh reality play out or intervening to change the outcome. Watching them struggle, I decided to offer a helping hand. I'm clearly no master architect, but I crafted a simple, ugly brown leaf to act as an artificial canopy. It wouldn't win any design awards, but its purpose was vital, to replace the shade that the sagging loquat branch had lost. The impact of my ugly intervention was immediate and profound. By carefully positioning the leaf to mimic the natural canopy, we cut the direct sun exposure from over an hour of punishing heat to a manageable 30 minutes. The change in the birds was visible. The frantic, high-energy gular fluttering slowed, and Mom finally tucked her wings back in, no longer forced to act as a living shield. In the cool shadow of that DIY canopy, the nest finally found its microclimate again. While the rest of the garden birds hid in the distant surrounding trees, this little family had their own custom-built sanctuary now. They can resume their normal daily routine again. This experience reminded me that while we are taught to keep our distance from the wild, sometimes the most rewarding part of the journey isn't just documenting the struggle, it's knowing when to offer a hand to help a story have a happy ending.